Richard Crowe, CROWE, Box 29054, 29054, Chicago 60629. And that's for ghost stories you want to relate to me, or if you want to ask for information on my tours. And Steve, I didn't even mention it yet tonight. Halloween week, I have all kinds of activities, and I hope you'll be able to come out. And come out beforehand because you'll be on at midnight.
What are some of the things you're going to be doing?
I have I've rented the Willowbrook Ballroom for a special Halloween masquerade party.
Aha.
And the Halloween masquerade party will also include the amazing Alphonse in a tribute to Houdini, and he's one of the top magicians in the country, and he happens to live in Chicago, and he's a very remarkable man, and he will be doing straitjacket and handcuff escapes, and we have a band doing 50s and 60s numbers, and a $100 cash prize for best costume with costume judging, and costumes are optional, but I hope people will come out in costume. And it'll be a nice little pre-Halloween celebration Wednesday night before Halloween, Wednesday the 29th of October.
All right.
And many, many other things, too. So drop me a line. I'd be glad to send you literature and all that. And do come out for that, Steve.
I would like to do that. I could...
get in the mood for your Halloween night broadcast.
And we want to remind everybody again that Richard is also going to be doing his annual Halloween show with Eddie. Halloween is on a Friday this year.
Halloween's a Friday, right.
Yeah, Friday is spookier than the rest of the days of the week.
Oh, yes, it is.
Why do you think that is?
The weather, according to the Old Farmer's Almanac, by the way, Steve, is supposed to be... stormy and rainy and sleety, and it'll be a real spooky weather-wise this Halloween also. And the Old Farmer's Almanac's been pretty good so far this year.
Yeah, they really have. Let's see, we got time for, actually, we got time that I should play a commercial or two, so that's what we're going to do right now, and we'll get right back. 2 minutes after 4 o'clock, WIND, and our guest is Richard Crowe. This has been a fascinating night for me. And I hope we can do this again in the near future. Let's try and get to some more people on the phone. Let's try line 4. And Marge, you're on WIND with Richard Crowe. Go right ahead.
Good morning. I don't have a ghost story to tell. I'm sitting here just loving them. But he was telling a story one time I was listening with Eddie, and I didn't get the whole story about a church on 33rd and Plina Street. There's a cross, and a workman's glove was stuck to it or something. And I used to live around there when I was a kid, and I was just wondering, I knew the minister that was there, they had a public library, and we used to get our books from there. And he was a real nice minister. I was wondering what happened to that, something about a glove being stuck when the workman tried to take off the cross. Does he remember that story?
That had come up earlier this evening. We were talking about it off the air. No. It was off the air. We were talking about it.
Oh, I didn't hear it.
You're psychic. You just brought it up.
Oh, really?
We had discussed this earlier. I was mentioning to someone that I had not been down that area lately. I've driven near there. I haven't been, in fact, I was right by there today a few times, nearby, but I hadn't checked on it. But according to the Our Lady of Good Counsel Jubilee book, which has the photograph of the building and a photograph of the cross, this is a former church that was acquired by the Knights of Columbus from Our Lady of Good Counsel parish there in the Brighton Park area. And when they acquired the building, it's one of those things where they made a promise that they would not take the cross down off the roof of the building. And the KCs were more than agreeable to agree not to take the cross down with the minister who was selling the property. And it was some years later, according to the Jubilee book, and I haven't located anybody, I haven't really done any first-person digging around in it, but I intend to. And when the building was being renovated and there was some roofing work being done, it was decided that they were going to move the cross temporarily, and nobody thought much of the promise they made not to move the cross because it was only going to be a temporary move. And so a fire truck, a hook and ladder had come over from the nearby fire department, and a fireman runs up the ladder and he puts his hands on the cross and he's going to move it temporarily. And it was according to the tale, according to the Jubilee book, there was a clear sky, and suddenly a lightning bolt came out of the blue, striking the cross, practically knocking that poor fireman off the ladder. And he had reached up to grasp that cross with his gloved hands, and the one glove was fused to the cross by the lightning bolt. And sure enough, after hearing about it and driving by to take a look, and the last time I was out there, it was still up there, a cross with a glove fused to it. and you can just see it just flap a little bit. We're a little bit loose in the breeze, and there is indeed a cross stuck to a glove stuck to that cross up there on top of that building.
They never tried to remove the glove or to do anything else to it. They figured enough is enough. We don't want to.
Probably that was the warning or the sign that leave that cross alone.
There used to be an ME church, and the minister was a very nice man that had it when I was 61 years old. And
Are you familiar with that story though?
No, I just heard you telling about it, but I knew the church. I was so familiar with the neighborhood and everything.
Are you still in the neighborhood?
No, I'm not. I'm on 87th in Muskegon now. But at that time when we lived, I was born on 32nd in Ashland, and we used to go there just to get our books because he used to have the public library there too. He was a very nice. I mean, he didn't care whether we were Catholic, but he didn't care if you're Catholic or what you were. He was. He had little Christmas. That was during the Depression. He had Christmas parties for the neighborhood children and everything, and he was such a nice man,
You say that the glove is still to this day stuck to the
Well,
cross?
the last time I drove by, Steve, it was still up there, and maybe we'll get somebody from the neighborhood to call up to confirm that.
Okay,
but,
if anybody's in the neighborhood of 33rd and Paulina, give us a call. I'd like to hear about that.
Very distinct the last time I was by that in that area.
Okay, we'll see if anybody can tell us about that. Marge, thank you very much for your call. Down to line 6. Greg, good morning. You're on WIND with Richard Crowe.
Richard?
Yes.
I just want to know if you had any experiences with vampiric occurrences in the Chicagoland area.
Okay, well, that really should fall into the area of my friend Marty Ricardo, the vampire research studies man, and have nothing definite on vampires here in the Chicago area. I've heard a few things, second, third hand, and so on, but nothing I could put my finger on regarding vampires. But once again, as I mentioned earlier, Chicago has such a wide variety of phenomena of all different ethnic groups and cultures. We've got a nice Hungarian group, and maybe we should ask Chef Louis, the Transylvanian owner of the bakery restaurant, what he thinks on that. But it's certainly... it's a strong belief among Greeks and Eastern Europeans and Southern Europeans, and there's always that the possibility. Do you know of any?
Yes, I heard of one. It was Marcy Dane, Marcy Brown. Did you ever hear of that one?
No.
Well, I'm not too familiar with it because I just heard it recently. It was about this girl, and she was buried. It was something like the Mark Carmel girl who was for 6 years, and the face never changed. Well, they killed this girl, and they put a stake through her heart, and on her gravestone, her parents they dug her up and everything, and their face didn't change, so they cut out her heart.
Did this happen at a Chicago cemetery?
No, this was just a different story.
And
then when they cut out her heart, on the gravestone it said "Rest in Peace" and was crossed out. And they got recordings of this girl would cry out and say, "Leave me alone, let me rest, get me out of here."
Where did this occur? Do you know?
Where did it occur? It occurred in Maine, I think.
Oh, okay.
And it was a long time ago.
No, I'm not familiar with that story at all. I have to check with some of my New England sources on that and see what they can come up with.
And then they dug up the grave, and her body was preserved just like she was buried.
That's a new one on me, too.
Maybe Marty could shed some light on that the next time he's on the show.
Yeah, I'll ask him. We've had him on the show, and he's one of the people we're going to try and have on the show if we do the Halloween thing. I thank you much for your call, and let's jump to line 8. Phyllis, you're on WIND.
Yes, I would like to talk to Mr. Crowe, please.
Go right ahead.
Okay.
Mr. Crowe, one incident happened before I was born. It happened to my uncle about 10 days or 2 weeks before he died. I'm not sure. He was given a camera, and he was fooling around and just taking pictures of just about anything he could think of, having fun with it. And he took a picture of a rose bush. And when he took the film in to get it developed, and he went to get it, the man at the where he went to get it got very angry with him, and he said, "What are you trying to do? Start a racket?" And he wouldn't give it to him. And this made my uncle curious. So he took it and he developed it himself. And one of the pictures, the picture of the rose bush, now some people see this immediately and some never see it. You can see Christ in there, the Sacred Heart.
Uh-huh.
And I remember when I was a child, my mother and my father looking at it, and they were able to see it, and I couldn't see it. And then when I got to a certain age, I suddenly saw it, and once you saw it, you
can always
saw
see it, right.
Yeah. And I took it to school, and the priest took it from me, and he never returned it. But his daughter, he was a very religious man. His daughter had reprints made. And if you wanted a copy, I would send one to you.
I was just going to say, I'd love to have a copy of that picture.
It's magnificent. If you don't see it right away, keep looking.
Uh-huh. Well, that's a favorite topic of mine, too, are these little subliminal images in pictures, and I've seen quite a few of them, and I'm always interested in learning about that. And was this taken here in Chicago?
It was taken in Illinois. I don't know what part, because they were living in southern Illinois at the time. Like I said, it was before I was born.
Uh-huh.
And you can see the face of Christ. You can see his hair. You can see his fingers pointing up and his other fingers pointing to his heart.
Well, if you could send me a copy of this, I would love to have a copy of this picture to take a look at.
And there was another thing I'd like to ask you about. Have you ever talked to anybody who has come back from the dead?
Are you talking about somebody who's like been clinically dead?
Clinically dead.
Pronounced clinically dead? No.
Well, you're talking to one now. And I've been
Do you remember anything from when you were
Yes, I do. And I've been afraid to tell many people about it.
What do you remember?
I only told the priest at the hospital what happened. I was at home with my husband. My son was in school. I wasn't feeling well. And I told my husband I didn't feel well. I was going to lie down and take a nap. The next thing I remembered was seeing a beautiful white light. And it was very strange. I knew this light was a being of some kind, but I didn't know who or what. And I said to the light, I said, would you please do me a favor, call my mom and dad, tell them I'm in St. Joseph's Hospital, and that I'm going to be all right. And the light answered me and said, I'll be happy to. And then I came to on a respirator. And during this period, my husband said that I was very sick, I was suffering, I was moaning, complaining. I have no memory of anything else. For hours. And the thing that substantiates this is during this period, my husband did not call my parents because he didn't know whether I was going to live or die or what was happening. I had gone into shock from some medication that I was on. And he hadn't called anybody. The hospital hadn't notified anybody because I was unconscious. I was intubated, the tube down the throat. My heart stopped, and I had no blood pressure, no pulse, no signs of life at all. And my father, at that time, got on his knees and started praying because he felt something was wrong. And the phone rang. And there was and when he picked up the phone, he assumed it was a nurse at the hospital, but she did not identify herself as a nurse. She just said that your daughter is in St. Joseph's Hospital, and she's stabilizing now, and she's going to be all right. And later, when my husband and my father tried to track this nurse down, they couldn't. And the only person I ever told about it, besides my father and husband, was the priest. And he believed that it was some kind of an angel or something.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know who it was.
It's a remarkable story, and I can't wait to see that photograph. You have my address to send that to me?
Would you give it to me again, please?
Okay. Or anybody else who has anything. Steve, we're getting great calls tonight.
Yeah.
And anybody who can't get through to me tonight by phone, do please drop me a line.
You see, when something happens like that to you, you're afraid to tell people because they think you're maybe it was from her sickness or something,
well,
you know?
we talked quite a bit about people being afraid tonight, but I think once people realize that they're not alone and that these things do happen, that they will step forward.
Yeah. I did want to share it then, yeah.
I appreciate that very much. Now, my address for you and anyone else out there, Richard Crowe, C-R-O-W-E, Box 29054, 29054, Chicago 60629.
Got it.
Thank you very much for the call.
Okay, and I will be sending you a copy of the print. It'll be a recent print.
That's
because,
okay.
The old ones are pretty much gone. Okay?
Okay, thank you much.
Thanks for the call, Phyllis.
There was a whole rash of calls, incidentally, Steve, about 8 years ago, the so-called Christ in the Cloud pictures. And these pictures are cropping up all around the country, all around North America. I have some from Canada. I have some from various states of the Union. Usually the story is that somebody was pointing their camera out a plane window, airplane window, or somebody went outside and just shot off a picture of the clouds or something and picked up this figure of Christ in the clouds. The thing is that all these pictures are the same. They all show the same picture, the same image of Christ, the same clouds, and so on, and yet there's always a different story associated with it as to how it was taken, where it was taken. So it's one of these widespread pieces of folklore. Nobody knows how or why it got as widespread as it did, but it suddenly cropped up everywhere at once, and people were coming forward with the account that it happened to them personally.
That's a fantastic story. Are you ever going to do anything on television with a lot of these things that you have, a lot of these pictures and things?
Well, I'm hoping that the That's Incredible program will be very well done. We spent 2 full days working with them on that. And interviews for that particular program involved 2 young men, 2 boys who watched Resurrection Mary waltzing down Archer, heading into the city. The ex-police sergeant who found the bars bent and did his investigation of that. The Southwest Side man who danced with Resurrection Mary in 1939. A couple who were driving down Archer and struck Resurrection Mary, and she disappeared before their car. And then interviews with myself and some scenes on the bus and so on. And I'm hoping that will be a very well done production. And That's Incredible people did express an interest to do more with me, so I'm hoping to do more with them or perhaps with other people as well.
They are, I assume, going to let you know in advance of when this is going to be televised.
Right. That strike has been crippling all the TV networks with things, and
I don't think That's Incredible
lately.
should be affected by that.
It is affected. It is one of the shows affected, right?
I'm surprised.
But when I do hear anything, you shall certainly hear about it.
Yeah, let me know about it. We'll pass it on to our listeners, because there is a lot of people that would love to see that. Let's see, we got time for a few more phone calls. Let's go down to line 5. Marlene, where are you calling from?
Denver.
Denver,
Colorado.
Okay. And what can we do for you?
Okay, well, I understand Richard T. Crowe is on tonight.
Yes.
And we've been on a few of his ghost tours. And we just, I understand he's going to be coming out here. And we have a few places to show him.
Once I get through my busy Halloween season, I intend to fly down to Texas and travel through the Southwest again, Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, and up into Colorado.
Uh-huh.
It's a very, very interesting area. Steve, I am planning on doing tours to other parts of the country, and I think the Colorado area is one that is very ripe. Arizona, New Mexico is another.
Uh-huh.
So what's the latest with the ghosts out in Denver area?
Oh, well, we stayed at the Peck House just a few weeks ago, and that's...
What is the Peck House?
Peck House was an old stagecoach stop, built in 1860. And there's quite a few ghosts roaming around there. They have 11 rooms. The dining room was added on in 1950. But the main house has a lot of traffic, ghost traffic.
And ghost traffic?
Ghost traffic.
There's a lot of ghost traffic.
You don't hear that term used very often.
What?
There was an article written up in the in some paper out that way. This is in Empire, Colorado. And they were talking about, they had a lot of psychics come out to the house and spend the night, and they just kind of sat in each room and seeing what kind of vibes they got. And they said they'd need a stoplight for as much traffic that there is.
What do these ghosts do if there's that many of them?
Well, while I was there, we didn't get much sleep. We just kind of, took dozes. That's about it. And we heard giggling, which could have been little Gracie Peck, which was supposed to be the 14-year-old daughter that lived in this house of the Mr. Peck was a gold miner, and he built a stagecoach house. He was from Chicago, brought all his things out and by a covered wagon out to here to Empire, built the house, and still mined gold. They have a card room in this house that they used to do a lot of gambling, and they say that there's some buried treasure there. And it's somewhere in the room, and Mr. Peck has been seen, kind of sticking around the card room, guarding his buried treasure. And little Gracie Peck kind of runs around and pulls pranks, and there's a lot of giggling. And
sounds like the Addams Family.
I was just thinking the same thing, right?
But it's kind of a real neat place, and I'm just here a year now. But I'm learning all these places, and there's going to be more.
You don't sound like you're afraid at all. Are these very friendly ghosts, or what?
Well, it was new to me, and you don't know what to expect. The people at the house, the girls, that wait on the tables, and that they were telling us, quite a few things that happened there. And they just said that she's mostly Gracie is seen, and she's really friendly. And the father is seen either in the rocking chair or in the card room. And they don't harm anybody. They don't do anything.
Is his original rocking chair there?
Oh, all the furniture is there.
The old rocking chair ghost syndrome again.
Yeah, the rocking chair moves, and he's seen with a pea coat on, kind of like a sailor. He looks like. And it's such a neat house. It's way out, in Empire, and kind of a little town near Georgetown. Georgetown's another one for these famous ghost houses. So it's a neat place.
How long has the house been standing?
Since 1860.
Must have a lot of history behind it.
There aren't too many houses here in Chicago that can date that far back.
Yeah, that's it.
It's one thing the country has that we lose in the city is the urban renewal that knocks things down as soon as they get a little bit antiquated.
Mm-hmm.
Or in the case of Chicago, the houses that are supposedly mistakenly knocked down that are landmarks.
It's a real shame, yes.
Yeah, I understand that Resurrection Mary's been cited, huh? A couple times?
This has been a banner night for Resurrection Mary accounts so far.
Really?
And I'm sure that there are people right now driving up and down Archer waiting for that chance to see her once again.
Oh.
Seems to. I think it's going to be. If I can predict these things, I don't usually stick my neck out, but I think it's going to be a real banner year for Resurrection Mary, as well as for other happenings as well.
Why do you think that, Richard? Is it a 20-year cycle? Is it just something about the planets? Is it what is it?
Well, maybe it's just we have a greater awareness of things, or people are coming forward more. But so far this year, things seem to be building up to something. Not only with Resurrection
maybe we're nearing the end of the world.
I don't like to think bad thoughts.
I mean, there have been those kind of predictions too. Of course, there always are, but. We'll see what happens.
Wait and see.
Marlene, I will thank you for your call.
Well, I surely miss your show. I listen to it every night, every day, all day long. No matter where I was, I'd have your station on. And we have KOA out here, and it's kind of okay, But I sure miss all you guys. And I really wish I could have heard it tonight.
Well, thank you for taking the time to call us.
Thanks for calling up.
Oh, yeah. Well, I guess Barbara's still there.
Yeah, she's a listener, right.
Right. Well,
okay.
She informed me on calling tonight.
Okay.
And I just wanted to get through. Glad
okay,
I
Marlene.
did.
Okay.
Thanks. And we're looking forward to you coming out here, Richard.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye. Richard, question. Are you just going to be going out to places like Denver to investigate, or are you possibly going to be having a nationwide ghost tours?
Well, we'll have to blanket the country, I suppose, here eventually with as Chicago, of course, is leading the way, I think, with heightened awareness of happenings. And it's shows like this, of course, that brings it to the public's attention. But I do intend to be spreading out. I'll have the Indiana tour coming up, hopefully one or two before the fall of the year, or before Halloween, I should say. And that's will be done here out of a Chicago base, but then I hope to be flying into different areas and then picking up buses from there on.
I would imagine that one area that would probably have a lot of good ghost activity, and I know of none, but it would strike me that New Orleans would have to be an interesting area for ghost-like things.
New Orleans is on my list of prime cities to do this with.
I don't know, even if I was a stone believer in ghosts, and I quite honestly, I don't believe, I don't disbelieve. I have an open mind about it. But I think I'd be a little leery of that voodoo stuff down there. I don't know how close I'd want to get to that. Have you had any experiences with that kind of thing? Voodoo legends or anything like that?
Have kept up to a degree on the legends, but I personally don't get involved in voodoo. That to me is quite scary as well. That and certain aspects of ritual magic and so on. You can summon up a lot more than you can easily control, I think.
We got about 3 minutes or so left. So let's recap a number of things. First of all, your address again is Post Office Box 29054. That's Chicago, Illinois, 60629. And you are going to be back on Eddie's show on Halloween. And you have the new tour, which begins when?
I have special nighttime tours Halloween week. I'll have 9 special tours, which will be sneak preview material of what I'll be using next year, but it'll be coming out for Halloween this year. I have the masquerade party that I hope you will come as a very interesting character, come as your favorite ghost.
All right.
To that, and many other things coming up as well. And I'll be glad to send anybody a whole packet of literature of up-and-coming activities.
And people should feel free to get in touch with you about any apparitions they feel they've seen, Resurrection Mary. I want to find out what else you hear about this Resurrection Mary thing.
I'll definitely keep you informed, because it's your show tonight that really, I think, is breaking the ice here with so many accounts. It's just unbelievable to me that we could come up with so much material tonight from this show.
What are some of the other good locations if somebody of a Friday night or of whatever night wants to go and just sit around and look from the safety of their car? What are some of the other good locations? We've touched on Bachelor's Grove, Resurrection Cemetery. What are some of the other places in our listening area?
Well, if anybody is in the area of Mount Carmel Cemetery, keep an eye out there, the Julia Bacola Petta site near the Harrison Street entrance. And then there is Maple Lake. That's always a popular place on 95th Street, just east of Archer, with the Maple Lake ghost lights. And keep an eye out around 107th and Archer, along Archer, for the Phantom Monks of St. James Sag. And people of downtown or near north in the area around the St. Valentine's Day Massacre site, 2122 North Clark Street. We could go on and on with a number of places.
What about, since you're going to be doing tours over into Indiana, what about for some of our friends over in the Hammond or Gary or East Chicago?
In particular, the Klein and Cudahy Avenue ghost. It's called the Cudahy Ghost. And this is a beautiful young Mexican girl with bloodstains on her white dress who was seen walking along the side of the road. Many good accounts of that girl. I'm surprised we didn't get a call or two regarding her tonight. We usually hear a call or two from listeners out in the Indiana area. That's probably the Northwest Indiana's most famous ghost, the Cudahy Ghost.
Well, this has been thoroughly enjoyable for me. I hope Eddie won't be too mad if at some point we try and get you back on this show again. This has been a lot of fun. And again, I hope you will keep in touch with us about the situation with Resurrection Mary and any of the other activities you have going on. And we, of course, will let our listeners know about it. And again, the address where they can get in touch with you is Post Office Box 29054, Chicago 60629. Richard, thank you. This has been fun.
Thank you, Steve.
Scary, but fun. And first of all, I want to thank again Richard Crowe. That was one of the most fascinating evenings I have spent. And I can understand why Eddie is justifiably proud of that man. Richard has some interesting stories, inspires interesting stories, and we will remind you again that He will be on Eddie's show on Halloween, and he will be on the That's Incredible segment. We'll let you know when that's going to be, and if at all possible, we'll try and get him